All right, so I'm going to give some introduction to what is going on. Okay, so this is Kafka Esquire versus Destiny on the Expedition 33 debate. If you want to avoid spoilers, now is your time. I want to be a little bit more careful about the spoilers part because I recognize not everyone has played the game through. However, just know that, you've been warned. Okay, don't complain afterwards to me. All right, you're welcome. Okay, all right, let's take a look. Okay. Now I've already watched the whole thing off stream, so I'm sorry. This is not going to be an original reaction. None of this is going to be an original reaction. However, you know, bada bing, bada boom. I guess I don't fucking know, dude. Fuck me. Yeah. Good luck.
Right, exactly. Okay. Okay, cool. Then that was just my one.
There are some points here. There are some points here where I feel like Kafka could have also said, but yeah. Anyway.
Only thing on the abortion thing. I caught the tail end of your debate with Foodshops the other day when you guys were discussing E33's ending. I didn't watch you play that game, and I didn't play that game either because it looks like something I wouldn't enjoy. However, you said
Lame.
something in there that I wanted to follow up
Kidding.
on, where you think there's some kind of like assumption we should make that people would prefer reality over not reality. Is
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
How the fuck do you actually get into the narrative? You'll see. Just, dude, 7 hours of the story is nothing. You gotta play more of the game. Like, 7 hours of the story is not enough. Yeah. You really need to keep on going through the game. But just know that this is actually a really interesting and old debate. Like, this is not a new subject. Yeah, this isn't a new subject that people are just like arguing now. Yeah, just keep in mind that this is an old subject that people have always argued about. So it's like, whatever.
is that kind of your position?
Look.
Okay, so like I've interacted with this in a different setting where like, have you ever watched Star Trek?
Nope.
Okay,
Or I
there's
mean,
this
I've
thing on there
seen
called the
episodes so far, but I don't know what you're going to reference. So just give the.
Okay, sure. There's a thing in it called a holodeck. You can walk into it and create like it can create anything, right? It can create a reality in which that you can interact with.
Sure.
You can interact with people, any time period, stuff like that. And someone posed a question of like, well, if we had that, why would you ever walk out of it? Because you could literally just create the perfect.
Time to get to 10. Listen. Just play the game, okay? Just click off the stream and come back later, okay? After the spoilers are done, okay?
reality for yourself. And so as soon as someone walked into it, they would never have a reason to walk out of it because anything you would want outside of the holodeck would just be in the holodeck already. So why would you leave it?
The only way that would work is you would have to destroy your knowledge of ever being in there, and that's a choice you should never make. But once you've made it, then you could theoretically live there forever.
Well, but
I feel as though, okay, so this is my thoughts, all right, from all the discussion that we've had. OMG, I was thinking holodeck too. Yeah, but that kind of betrays your age, right? Like, the thing is that I watched Star Trek The Next Generation, but that's only because older people, like, told me about that show and told me how good it was. And that's why I watched Star Trek The Next Generation. I feel like whenever someone says, oh yeah, my first thought was about this one episode from TNG. I watched it, like, twice now at this point. But, like, oh yeah, it came from this one episode from TNG. Like, the thing that I think about is, like, oh my god, that's old. Okay, that's really old. You're gonna be like 30 to 50 at the very least. Yeah.
I think that like having
Regardless, it's way ahead of its time.
knowledge that you're in there, I guess, could affect it. But like, why do you think you would still want to leave it? Because for me, I could see myself going in there and never coming out, even if I knew I was in a holodeck.
Well, because it's not real. You're just living in a delusional fantasy now.
Yeah, but like,
Oh yeah, I just want to say I feel as though Steven is. I'm old. I don't deny it. True, but you're cool. You're an aura farmer. That's the thing. Okay, that's the problem. Is that you're too cool. You're just too awesome. All right, I know who you are. Okay, but I feel as though when I feel as though when Destiny is talking about something like this, I feel as though he is projecting, right? He's projecting because he imagines himself in a position where he has to contend with the fact that the entire world that he has been living in the entire time was fake, right? He has to contend with that. However, he is contending with that because he imagines himself in a position where he wouldn't be able to handle the knowledge, right? It's kind of like it's kind of like cosmic horror, right? It's like horror in a way because it's existential horror where you kind of go like, what's the point of living if everything that I've ever done was fake, right? Like, oh, I am not able to contend with this, right? But you're only speaking for yourself, right? Because if I found out tomorrow that my entire life was a simulation, I would be like, yo, I feel a little bit of existential horror, but not too much. I think I would go on with my life and I would reconcile with the fact that I live in a simulation, right? Like, I'll probably cope a little bit and say, like, well, even though I live in a simulation, does that make any one of my life experiences, any achievements that I have done, any less true? Unless someone just happened to give me my memories. Well, isn't ignorance kind of bliss? Isn't it still good to just simply cope with that and just continue on? I mean, maybe I need some like therapy, right? But who cares? I would just go on, right? Like, I would still live within the confines of this simulation the same way as if we were living in the real world, because nothing about the nature of the simulation has changed in any kind of fundamental way, right? The nature of the actual simulation has not changed, right? But yeah, I figured if I lived in a simulation, I would only be pissed that was a shitty reality simulation. Dude, listen, if you're the kind of person who would have existential horror being in a virtual simulation to the point where you would consider ending it all, well, I mean, one thing I'll have to say is a skill issue. Okay, I do think that's a skill issue. I unironically think that's a skill issue. Yeah. If you're unable to handle the cosmic horror of being like a lone speck of dust floating in the universe, that's a skill issue. All right? Because guess what? We already live in a simulation in a way, right? Because we are in a simulation of the universe coming across pure luck in order to craft sentient species on a planet. The chances of that happening, the unimaginable cosmic horror of that, of how insignificant you are, of how pathetic your existence is in the grand scheme of things, how you are only living in the beginning of the entire universe. That is a crushing existential horror already. The fact that you're gonna die and there's gonna be nothing after that, that is existential horror, right? So you're really telling me that you're not going to be able to handle the fact that you've been living in a simulation, despite knowing that you're inconsequential, you're nothing, you're just space dust? That makes no sense. You've handled way worse existential horror before. These are way worse existential horrors.
What am I getting out of reality? Like what was my goal in reality such that like I couldn't recreate it in there? Like, I'm trying to live my
Well,
life.
you can't recreate anything that involves like genuine anything because now everything is fake. So, for instance, if you ever had any goal in reality whatsoever, you can't accomplish any of those goals inside of the none of the fulfilling goals. I guess you could do like the pure hedonistic ones, but like if your goal was to say, you know, have the accomplishment of becoming a lawyer, whatever you do on the experience machine doesn't count because you're going to design the fantasy such that it's always going to happen. No.
Yeah. So like, is it? I could see there being like an argument that like you designing it means that like you're inherently not going to feel the fulfillment of winning of beating it, right? Like if I make a video game in reality and then I play the video game and beat it, right? That's less satisfying than if I played a video game someone else made, right? I could see. I think that's a fair argument. But like at the same time, though, I think that there's like also kind of an assumption in there that like that things in reality are achievable.
I think that does that mean like every single achievement if I found out that I was in a simulation tomorrow, there is absolutely no way you can take away the good feeling that I've had going through college, having my first job, graduating from college, graduating from high school. I'm sorry, but finding out that I actually live in a simulation changes none of that. It doesn't even matter if my good feelings are part of that simulation, because that is within the confines and the rules of the simulation, right? That's within the confines of that. What's your favorite? Picard. But that's within the confines of that. And I am accomplishing things inside of these rules and these laws and the confines of and the parameters of that simulation. How is that not something to be proud of? How is that not something to be happy about? You're saying that if you got a new high score on Dance Dance Revolution in the simulation, that you can't be proud of yourself? Like, yeah.
For me, like I feel like there's a certain amount of population where like I'm very privileged.
That's
I have a
all
very,
meaningless?
nice life, and so it's like, and I do have.
I
the
refuse to
ability
believe
like,
it.
Oh, there's like achievements I can get to someday. That'd be great. But like I think for a lot of people, they walk into a holodeck, even with what we just discussed in mind, like that person maybe.
Like, you're actually telling me that you're gonna quit college the moment that you learn that you're in a simulation. The moment that you learn that you're in a simulation, you're like, I have no moral consideration. Nothing ever matters. I'm going to drop out of college. I'm not going to care about anything. I'm going to drop out of college. I'm not going to try to find a wife anymore. I'm not going to try to experience sex and love anymore. Really? 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 No way. You don't even believe that. There's no way you would even choose to do that, right? There's no way, right? If the simulation is everything, it is existence. Exactly. The realness of existence is only your perception. The realness of existence is only your perception. If you find out tomorrow that everyone else is AI in a simulation and you are the only real human being, and the entire time you've made emotional, romantic, and familial bonds with AI, does that cheapen any of the bonds that you have forged with your friends and family? It does not. Because as far as I'm concerned, from your perception, they are sentient. They are acting the way that sentient beings should and will, right? Yeah.
Is like we're an orphan, they're very poor, they don't have very much going on outside of it, and they go in there and they get to be the fucking king of the world and do whatever they want. So why would why, for them, they're like, well, I don't care if it's real or not. This is so much better than anything I would get in reality, right? Like,
that's fundamental assumption. There's an axiomatic belief there, and if you break that, then you can do whatever you want, I guess. But the reality would be fucked, and that's
not
the whole,
rocking
I don't care
with
if it's real
clinkers.
or
That's
not.
fine.
But if you don't,
but you'll never find out. You will never find out whether or not the reality that you are living in right now. What if I'm fake, right? Let's just say I'm fake, okay? You're not real anymore. Sorry, you are real, okay? You're real, and everyone else is fake, okay? I am just a streamer that the simulators have essentially put up in order to make the simulation more effective and more believable, okay? Like, I'm just a person that someone put up to do that. From my perspective, I am real. Okay, I perceive things. You guys could just be the AI, right? I'm just saying it doesn't matter, okay? We are dealing with perception. This is our reality, right?
I don't care if things are real or not. You should literally just go find the biggest kick of morphine, whatever, and just like OD and kill yourself, because it is the most nihilistic possible take to have in life.
Bad argument. The reason you have to ask yourself, okay, you have to ask yourself, why is the opioids bad? Why are they bad? I think that is the question you need to ask. Debate him next stream, he's too scared. You need to ask yourself the question, Why is it bad? Because is inherently taking something that makes you feel better or solves an issue bad? For example, is it inherently bad to enjoy the positive effects of alcohol? Is it inherently bad to enjoy or to use morphine or any other drug, assuming that it doesn't affect you that one time in any way whatsoever? It's not. The only reason why we consider these drugs to be bad is because there are a ton of negative effects, right? It's financially costly. You take money from people around you to keep on being on these drugs. You ruin your prospects, relationships, your jobs, everything. You become an addict. You're also going to live you're going to live shorter lives. But the inherent nature of taking the drug, the actual inherency of it is not bad, right? The inherent nature of it is not bad because we can think about like, oh, well, I guess fentanyl would be justified if you have cancer, right? If you're suffering from the pain of cancer, is it not good actually to put on a fentanyl patch, right? Which is a regular painkiller for bad cancer, right? For cancer pain. Is that bad? So it's inherently neutral in a way, right? Taking it is inherently whatever, right? You can say it's generally bad, right? I would agree with that. It's generally bad. True. And most of the time when people use it, it's pretty bad. All right. But if we had a different version of a drug that does not impact your relationships, does not impact your job, is not financially like horrible, is not addictive, you can get off of it anytime, it doesn't affect any of your life negatively, what's to stop you from taking that drug? Do you know what that drug is called? Any other over-the-counter medication or any other medication that your doctor prescribes to you. That's your entire life. Because your doctor is going to prescribe you a whole set of medication your entire life that is designed to enhance your life while trying to minimize the negative effects. Is there any inherent wrong to that? No, because the downstream effects of all of that is better than not being on that, right? You suffer more when you're not on all of these drugs. This begs the question, why even bring up this example, right? Because I don't think throughout this entire debate, by the way, Stephen doesn't actually bring up why it's bad. I think that's the part he has to contend with. Why is it bad, right? Because why it's bad is the problem, is the whole entire debate, right? You have to assume there is some kind of inherent good to living in the real world, right? The so-called real world. There has to be some inherent good, but I would strongly disagree with that, but we'll see. We'll see, okay?
Well, two
I'll
things
show
on
you
that, but
guys.
like I'm saying, like that person can go like, I know that reality's out there, but the reality for me personally is so bad that I don't want. It's like that's someone killing themselves, right? It's equivalent to that. Someone saying, my life is so bad, I'd rather kill myself than live. And this is different of saying like, my life is so bad, I'd rather just live in non-reality than live, right?
Yeah, I guess, but you're essentially committing suicide, right? In a way, in a fun way.
Sure. Yeah, definitely in a fun way. Well, then on the other side of that, though, there was some documentary I watched. I can't remember what it was about people doing H, and this lady was like on camera about to shoot up, and she's like, "Oh, it's like my daughter's birthday or something, and I really want to be there, but if I actually meant that, I wouldn't be here shooting up heroin because if I really wanted something, I would actually do that, and instead I'm here shooting up heroin." And so it was like, it was a really interesting thing to me because it's like we don't need a holodeck or whatever the fuck E33 was, right? Like people are choosing a non-reality, like this kind of state of being high, and they're disengaged and just feeling pure pleasure, and they're giving up all of reality for it. But would you argue that that's just like a chemical kind of addiction kind of thing, and that's why it's like that? Not that the person's making like a rational choice.
Kind of, or more. There's like a word game that's being
But then again, this is why it's not an apt analogy, right? Does that make sense? Like that's why. Oh no, I got the wrong thumbnail. Fuck me. Hold on, I'll change it. Right. This is why it's an apt. It's not an apt analogy, right? The reason why it's not an apt analogy is because um is because you're talking about a drug that has bad effects in the reality that you're currently living in, us versus everything is staying the same within that specific realm, but you just simply find out that it is the not the correct reality, right? Does that make sense? Like you discover that it's not the same, but that's it. You don't ruin any relationships when you discover that you're in a different reality. You're not ruining any financial prospects by doing that. Yeah, there's nothing there, right? So this is not a good analogy, in my opinion. But
being played there. When the person says, I want to go to my daughter's, oh my God, I'm gonna have to restart my computer. When a person says, I want to go to my daughter's birthday party, but I'm here doing drugs instead, so I must not want to, she's not really saying she wants to go to her daughter's birthday party. If anything, there's a implication there that reality is important, because what she's actually saying is, I want to go to my daughter's birthday.
No. See, this is him conflating the two again, right? He's saying, oh, reality is important. No, what she's experiencing is not a fake reality. When she is on the drug, that's not a fake. She's not walking into the holodeck and experiencing a fake world, right? She's not going into a simulation. She's not entering the matrix, right? When she is on heroin. When she's on heroin, that is numbing or bringing pleasure to the current reality that she is living in, to the point where she doesn't care about anything else within that same reality. Okay? But yeah. Several TNG cast members voice the characters in XCOM 2. Really? That's fucking cool as fuck.
Party.
I haven't noticed.
There's some internal thing that's saying, I wish that reality were different. I wish that I had a different feeling about a thing, but I don't, and that sucks. So she wants to go to her daughter's party, but instead she wants heroin, and so she's doing heroin.
I think that's fair.
Or rather, she wants heroin.
I see it. I think it's, yeah. I think that like you said, the axiom of like caring about reality is really important there, and I don't know how much I share that.
Again, okay, it's the conflation of how do you define reality, right? Because the way I use reality is everything, everywhere, all at once. Currently, right now, your perception. That is reality, right? I'm not talking about like this shit with like, oh, are you numbing your experience of the current reality, right? Not gonna lie, bro, if you debated Steven, he would have cooked you on some Tinder shit. What do you mean? I debated him twice on this.
You have to. If you otherwise, you would be doing morphine or whatever. You'd just go drug yourself out or do some crazy shit right now, or you should just kill yourself. You can't. There's no way. You might intellectualize the thing, but intuitively, there's no way we feel that way. There's importance to reality.
I know what you're saying, but like I also like I live an incredibly privileged life. So like I've said this before in my life, where it's like if my life was going worse, I would cash it in. For the amount of time I've been alive, I've experienced some amazing things. I've had a great life, and like if I was doing like 50% worse, like man, I don't know. That's like, and that's not even that bad. I would still be like, fuck it.
Well, but then this kind of turns into a different discussion, right? Because now you're discussing, oh, would I rather spend whatever limited time I have left in my life in order to be on drugs and be happy because I want to be on drugs, right? Like, would you rather... You're talking about a fundamentally different question at this point. This is not the same question, right? Because the most correct analogy is the world will not change, right? That has to be a parameter you have to be controlling for. The world does not change. Other than the fact that you discover that you've been living in a simulation this entire time. But yeah, I mean, we're not talking about like, oh, are you trying to cope by being on drugs, right? That's not the same question.
Why would I stick around for the worst part? But I think it's just probably a matter of perspective. And like you said, I think it might be just a kind of a language thing that we're kind of not quite lining up on.
Well, but the language thing hits on a concept once you disaggregate the language a little bit. Like I think there is an inherent value to things that are real, and I think that intuitively you'll feel the difference between a thing that's fake and a thing that's real. I don't think the fake thing will provide the same level of like fulfillment. You would have to fool yourself into not realizing that the fake thing is fake.
Maybe. If I discovered that I lived in a simulation tomorrow, I would feel as though everything that I've accomplished feels at least a little bit undermined, right? Because what if some of my achievements were programmed? Well, that depends on what's been revealed to you. Is it revealed that you are in fact programmed to succeed? Or is it that you're programmed to get to the place that you are? Does that undermine yourself as an entity? But isn't that what reality is all about anyway? Because if you're born rich, you have a higher chance to succeed anyway. If you're born poor, you have a lower chance to succeed anyway. If you're born with the genetic disorder, you will have to suffer from that genetic disorder. Because now when you draw a differentiation between something like that, like I don't know, that's like the next step after if you resolve the reality question, that's kind of like the next step.
Which is part of the experience machine.
Yeah.
And in that case, then you have a harder time arguing against it, I guess. But
I think it's fair. I think just for me, I think it's the kind of like when it comes to the escapism, because while I have a very privileged life, I do interact with a lot of people that don't, and like I know a lot of people that I feel like would like gladly step into that, and like I think that more likely to me, like the reason why I would choose not to do it or to do those other things is probably not because like necessarily reality, just because like I feel obligations towards people. Or would you say that's just part of reality, right? Like I feel obligations toward my family. Like that's a huge reason to, stick around and not kill myself or go into a pleasure machine like that. But like, do you think that's separate from choosing reality? Like, or do you think that's me just dressing up reality in a different way?
no, that is reality. Because they're real people that you would be abandoning, right? You can't just replace them with fake people.
Right, but if I'm a person with like no connections to like other people, let's say, right? I'm like an orphan that has just turned 18, pushed out on the street, right? This person has nothing, and they're not connected to anybody, right? That person doesn't have those connections, so I see like a difference in myself from that person, and I see myself if I was that person, I think it would be very hard for me to find a reason to choose not to go into the pleasure machine, just because of the reality that I'd be facing in front of me and the lack of obligation that I have to anybody or anything around me. So I don't know. I feel like looking at that question, it depends a lot on like an individual person's connection to reality and how much investment they have. Like how much does this person really care about the reality they live in? So I don't know. Just wondering what your thoughts were, because I felt like it was a lot more about the video game and whatever the fuck those characters were feeling rather than kind of the concept.
I mean, yeah, it is a little bit more about the video game, but fundamentally, like the discussion isn't any much different. It's not a different discussion, right? I don't think any of this is like a different discussion, fundamentally speaking. Because no matter if you argue the holodeck or the Matrix or something else, these are all just the same question anyway, right?
No, there's more. I mean, it's about the concept too, like the experience machine concept and the concept of what is real and what isn't real is a big, or like what is the value of real things is a big philosophy things. It's a big concept of like why does it matter? When you're saying like this reality sucks, the implication there is that you can go to another reality, but you can't really. You can just engage in some level of delusion and then fabricate some other thing that makes you feel better. But then the question is like, will you feel better in self-delusion than you will in reality? The two aren't equivalent, but I mean, I guess it's not unbelievable.
If life is a simulation, how do I get into creative mode? Be lucky and be born as Elon Musk.
That one could be preferable to the other, depending upon how horrible your life is. But a horrible life isn't just one where you're like a working class Andy and it just kind of sucks. It would be one where you have like agonizing, debilitating pain that you're
If you haven't been born as Elon Musk, GG, go next.
You're never going to recover from, or something like that, you know?
I mean, like, look at like the Republicans and how they've gaslit themselves to reject reality, and then force in a false reality under Trump and things like that.
That's
right?
totally different. I think that we're
You think
talking
so?
about, I think it's a totally different thing on that. Yeah.
Okay.
Because they don't. These people don't think they are like rejecting
that's kind of
reality.
a
They're not making the choice
different
to
thing.
reject reality. That's a totally different.
Well, one second. I agree with you there, but it's kind of a thing where it's like, and you've talked about this, where like if you show any of these people like a fact, right? Like you say, oh look, energy
keep
prices have gone
re-rolling.
up under Trump, they didn't
Exactly.
go down, like he said. That person in the moment has a choice of either rejecting the fact and therefore reality, or
hold on.
lying or making excuses, right?
We're mixing word games up. Or
Okay.
we're not word games. Sorry.
That's fair.
When I say word games, also, I'm not saying you're like playing a game or whatever. I'm saying that
No, you're insulting me directly. I get it.
Yes. They're not rejecting reality. They think that you're wrong about reality. Making the conscious choice to reject reality is that's a much bigger thing. They're making the choice to say, I don't believe what you're saying, not I think what you're saying is true, but I reject the truth and I prefer to live in delusion.
Okay.
Yeah, nobody makes the
I see what
choice
you're
to live in delusion, or not that I can think of. Yeah.
Right. So the rejection of whatever they're saying is more than just rejecting the information.
I think that you can make an argument to live in delusion and then forget about the memory that you've lived in that delusion, right? I can totally acknowledge that there could be an argument for something like that. That you can just simply let's just say you just simply don't want to remember that you are living in a delusion and you want to go back to that prior existence. This is the entire question behind is there anything inherently bad with what was it Cypher? It was one of the Matrix people who wanted to go back to the Matrix, right? It was one of the Matrix people who wanted to go back to the Matrix and forget that this was all a thing. Is there really anything fundamentally wrong with that? The only reason why it was so bad was because he was killing his other teammates to accomplish that, right? Like he wanted to kill everyone else on that team so then he is able to get what he wants. Obviously that's ridiculous, right?
As though it's not true, not that like it's impossible or like it is true but I refuse to accept it or something like that. I see what you're saying. Okay, fair enough. I kind of see where you're going, because I was going to say like if people can do that in reality already, I don't know how that you can't do that when you're in the experience machine itself, right? Like if you're in the experience machine, being able to like on the inverse just create the reality there for yourself. I wonder how hard that would truly be. I mean, like, I don't know how you test that, but like if someone was if we could put someone in a reality machine, like do a Turing test with a holodeck, right? Where it's like, can this person tell? Like, let's say we like someone's asleep and we put them into a holodeck without them knowing. They wake up, right? That person probably couldn't tell they're in there. So I think that's kind of what you're saying, where like you don't have a memory of going in, so then you would choose to stay there.
Yeah.
Right. But so like.
Oh wait, hold on one second.
That's also the other.
Hold on one second.
Go ahead. Chat, what's going on? Hey guys. Yeah. Sorry, I thought he was gonna. I thought he was gonna take. He usually takes a really long time to find me in Discord.
Also, good point on Matrix. I feel like Neo and the gang are only morally good if they're saving people who have objectively shittier lives in the reality. Sure, that too, right? Yeah, sure. I can kind of agree with that. I don't know. This entire thing is so retarded. I mean, I feel like you can't go through like fucking 50 trillion JRPG games and then arrive at the conclusion, oh yeah, reality. I prefer to like be within my world. I don't fucking know. It's so stupid.
I started eating a grapefruit, and it's a really big and good one. So I'm not gonna stop eating it. I'm sorry.
Wow.
Ugh. Okay, sorry. Yeah, I mean, you should never make the choice to go in the reality or in the experience machine. But once you're in there, then I mean, yeah, you can stay. But again, it's not because you're choosing to stay in a delusional world. It's because you've convinced yourself that that's the real world, right?
Okay, I think I see what you're saying. And so, all right, I see your position. Okay. Well, are you? I know you got your research thing today. Are you gonna listen to any more of that Supreme Court oral argument thing?
I don't know. Is the plaintiff side, did they make really good arguments?
Actually, yeah, I actually really like their arguments, and also some of the teeth comes out from the Republicans, kind of showing what they want to argue for why the tariffs should stay. They kind of go into this really big argument, excuse me,
Okay.
around licenses and kind of like how the executive can collect revenue in ways other than tariffs and stuff like this, and kind of like why that might equal it. I don't agree with it. I think that there's not a lot of really great ways to support it, but it is really long, and I know you got a lot of shit, but it's really good. Whether you listen or not, I want to pose a question to you about this case specifically. I've been talking with some of the chatters and then some other places.
You play Borderlands 4 offline, online. I was playing it with viewers
Um,
at some point.
Do you feel like this case is maybe a little more impactful or unique? Because I feel like this is the first case where I really have seen a like direct like conflict of the branches, or like, like the constitutional crisis question, I feel like is so clearly here in this one compared to other ones.
Okay, I don't know what they're talking about anymore.
Do you feel a
Really?
difference, or
Yeah.
is it? Yeah, I mean, like, what other cases have come to the Supreme
No
Court
longer
where
talking
like it's a
about the
direct
existential shit.
challenge of like
The
the
immunity
legislature's
case, I
power?
think.
Mm, I don't know, because the DOJ is part of the executive. It's kind of the executive playing with itself. Well, no, no,
I
no, no,
super
no. I mean, like
disagree.
during Trump's
The
no, no, during
legislature,
Trump's
the
administration.
legislature makes laws, and now the president is above the laws that the legislature makes, right?
I can
Did you ever see the episode in Love, Death, and Robots called Beyond the Aquila Ridge Shops? No.
see that. Yeah, I see that, but it's like I don't know if like whenever we came out of that case, I feel like the structure of the government is like fundamentally changed. If this happens, like if he gets to keep these tariffs, in my mind,
Because I don't understand how your perception of the addiction question differs from destiny, because it's not an equivalent analogy in any way. Because when it comes to addiction, you're talking about tampering with your perception of your current reality, but you don't ever deny that you're currently living in the same reality, right? You don't deny that's the case. When you're talking about finding out, okay, sorry, no, I need to rephrase it. When it comes to the drug, you are altering, you're altering, um, you're like coping, right? There are negative effects when it comes to addiction. But there is no direct negative effects within the confines of the reality that you live in when it comes to discovering that you are in fundamentally a different reality, or you live in a simulation, right? But Destiny says that he says that addicts want to go to the birthday party, but they can't help but want the drug. They're aware of reality, but opt for non-reality. No, you're no longer talking about reality anymore. You're talking about how the drug makes you stay addicted to the drug. You're talking about the drug affecting you in such a way where you are more addicted to the drug than it is your want to go to your kid's birthday party. That you're no longer talking about the question of reality. That's not within the question anymore, because you either address reality or you don't address the reality. It's really as simple as that.
it feels like the fundamental
Sounds like you
structure of the
agree.
government has truly changed, because we're now giving economic powers to the president unrestricted from
Sure.
the
I mean, it's probably
legislature.
more broadly felt. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's all it is. I was wondering if I'm just having a lawyer brain moment or anything, but yeah. Okay. Well, good luck in the what is it? The abortion research thing. I hope you finally come to the light and realize that it's a mortal sin,
Gotcha.
and that you'll go to the debate and say and apologize and say, every life is precious.
We'll do my best.
No. All right. Bye, Disney. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Okay. I'm going to restart my computer, but I can turn my
Addict here. The drug will keep you more addicted than life itself. It's not reality. The drug of choice is greater than everything. Family, school, everything. No, but it's not plunging you into a into a simulation. When you take the drug, you're not being plugged into the matrix and then forgetting all the memories, right? Or not forgetting all the memories, rather. You're not being you're not experiencing the canvas, right? That's not what you're experiencing. It's not the same thing. You say that because that is what it feels like to be on that drug, right? And I wouldn't blame you for feeling that. But otherwise, how would you feel as though you have a need to get better, right? Then what you're saying makes no sense. How do heroin addicts become ex heroin addicts, right? Is because they realize what they're doing is bad because it has other negative effects on their life that they need to improve, right? Is because they want to improve. And that's why they are trying to fix the parts of their life that sucks, right? By, and including getting off of addictions, right? To pull yourself up. But, yeah,
Stream on this laptop so that it doesn't reset everything
it's not the same.
and
I'm sorry.
fuck it all up. Okay, so I'll be back. Hold on. Give me like 2 minutes or something. I don't know. 1 second.
You never become an ex-addict. That okay? I mean, you can argue with that, but at this point, we're just talking about two different things. Okay. I mean, yeah, yeah, good one. Keep breathing, Steven. Bitch. Kidding, joking. I love you. Okay, cool. You're always in recovery? Yeah, sure. I mean, technically, if you want to talk about that, sure. But typically, when people say ex addict, it means that they're no longer attached to the drug, right? They're no longer super attached to the drug, right? As in, like, they are, like, financially being burdened and they're missing everything and they're ruining their lives over it, right? Typically, people who are in recovery for the rest of their lives, right? They are in a sense ex-addicts just simply because like they have improved their lives and they've gotten like free of that stranglehold of withdrawal and addiction and relapsing, right? It's two different things. Like, oh, it's okay. It's fine. All right, don't worry about it. I'm happy. See, smile. Okay. All right. What are you covering? Why we call our previous partner exes? Because you're in recovery from them. See, because technically you're always in recovery from your exes.
Truly, this is the dankest dungeon.
Yo, Misaki, thank you so much for the 5 gifted kick subs. Thank you. Would you want the reality? Maybe. I mean, that depends. Like, what gives me a better life? Wait, so did did Darius pull Darius again and start smack talking me? Bruh. Guy is so mad for no reason. And for what? For what? What are you accomplishing? Other than misery and suffering. What's the point? Okay. I'm gonna be right back. Okay, I'm gonna be right back. Here, new fucking background picture. Okay, I'm gonna be right back. When we get back, I'm gonna cover Darius's recent rant on me. Okay, if he did have a rant on me in the first place, who knows? Have you tried In and Out? Yeah, of course. I love In and Out. You can't confirm reality is real, so we could just be hooked up to a machine right now. Sure. But they're arguing that since you live in plausible deniability, you should just assume that we live in reality, so therefore we shouldn't be having existential crisis, right? But I would argue that not knowing whether or not you live in a simulation contributes similar amounts of existential, I don't know, horror to. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Okay, you just don't worry about it. Just don't worry about it. This shit gets really baked. Okay, like this shit is retarded. Fundamentally, at the end of the day, all of this is super retarded. None of it matters. I know that's the real existential horror. Okay, none of this matters. This is all just a retarded like fucking online argument. Okay, it's fine. Okay, it's okay. It's okay. All right, I get it. Yeah. I need to play some music while it goes to the bathroom. Bro, I don't. Bro, what? There is no beef. Like, what beef is there? It's just Darius taking random ass shots for no reason. Like, there's literally no conceivable reason why he took shots at me in the first place. It just makes no sense. Yeah. Like, people want a fake beef, I guess. People like kayfabe, the fucking the Thunderdome and all that shit. I mean, maybe I guess. Oh no, this is copyright. Fuck.